Welcome to Talk of the Game. It's the match preview of Fulham against West Ham United. And another London derby for West Ham. Gonzo, let's start with always. What's your thoughts on our opponents on Saturday evening?
Well, very, very disappointing, it has to be said. Not for them, not for me, I couldn't care less. But they spent a lot of money. All the talk was initially about West Ham spending lots of money because we did our spend early. But then Wolves and, of course, Fulham famously spent an awful lot of money. And the geezer wasn't mucking around, was he? We discussed earlier on in the season that he was looking to buy Wembley, and I don't know what his plans for Fulham were, but that's all collapsed. I don't know if he intended on moving them in, but they spent big and they spent well. They had Mitrovic, is that his name? He was on loan from Newcastle last season and made that permanent, 20-odd million. Good player. Looks like he could play in a lot of teams and causes defenders a lot of hassle, but inconsistent maybe. But Schürrle, which I thought that would be a very, very good signing. I know Mike likes Schürrle, if I remember correctly. And they... of course, we were linked with Mitrovic under Moyes. The other one who we were linked with was Seri, which I still think actually is maybe a position high-energy midfielder. And, of course, they got Sessegnon, who they kept hold of. Some decent players. Obviously, we've nabbed Fredericks off them. Kearney we were linked with. We linked with quite a lot of their players, actually, haven't we? So, but they're doing rubbish and obviously got rid of their manager. Now under Ranieri, they'll be looking to do a little bit better.
Mike, what about yourself? What are your thoughts on Fulham?
My thoughts on Fulham are very similar to Gonzo's. I mean, if you look last week, we did the one I was on the one that we did for Palace, and it was Zaha, wasn't it? And a couple of others which aren't shit, and the rest of the team you could more or less forget about. Fulham, you look at, and Gonzo's pretty much named the team that like 4 pretty useful players for them, plus Sessegnon, who's a bit hot and cold, Kamara, ditto. And that's at least 4. If you look at Mitrovic, Schürrle, Seri, Tom Kearney, who's been injured for a lot of the season, but has just come back now, I think is a really useful midfielder as well. And they've got the makings of a team. Obviously, none of them play in defence, which I think is where their issue is. But I'm surprised to find them bottom of the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? Given the fact that we can name 5 out of an 11-man team, 10 outfield players, if you like, that are pretty, Premier League quality. Unlike some other teams, in my opinion.
Yeah, the problem is I don't know if their defence is Premier League quality, and I think that's where they're falling down a little bit. Another player we were linked with, Gonzo mentioned there, is Alfie Mawson. Of course, he's come in for big money, and he's been in and out of the team. They've got Callum Chambers on loan at Arsenal, who Ranieri's now playing as a defensive midfielder. So is that a case of our midfield isn't good enough, we have to shoehorn this guy in, or is that a case of he's not a good enough defender, we need to find somewhere else for him? It's one of the two. Kevin McDonald, they often play. He's Scottish. I know about him. He's crap. He's not a Premier League player. Whenever I see him in the Fulham team, I bet on him to get a card because he's not good enough for the Premier League. He's too slow for the Premier League. If he starts on Saturday, all I have to do is put Anderson next to him and say, there you go, because Anderson will tear him apart if he plays. Saying that, I don't think he will. Kamara has been in good form for Fulham in the last couple of games. I think he'll probably start out on the right wing for them instead of Schürrle, actually. I think Fulham have got a lot of good jigsaw pieces there. It's a question of how do you put them all together? Can someone put them all together and get them to survive? But Gonzo, they sat their manager, first Premier League manager to be gone, appointed Ranieri. What do you make of the appointment? Did they pull the trigger too soon, or do you think they had to sort of twist?
Well, I think it's you put it in the context of what club it is, and as we discussed, their owner is not going to muck around. He bought the club, didn't he? I think he bought it off Al Fayed, quite possibly, and they got relegated pretty much straight away. And you've seen it with a lot of these American investors. They come in and they don't come from an environment where they have relegation in their sports franchises. So I bet it was a complete shock to the system for him to get relegated. He's not going to want to go through that again. So he's not going to have patience. So in the context of that club and that owner, probably not, despite how well he did last season. And of course, you've got to realise a lot of these guys will look in and look at actually, for every person looking at the model of Burnley staying up and maybe Huddersfield, they're going to look at the Watford model, who chop and change, as well, almost every season, it seems. So did they pull the trigger too early? Don't know. That's up to them. I thought the choice was decent, though, and it was nice to see it not be an Allardyce or Moyes, if you know what I mean. I don't just say that because of us or Pulis. I know he's at Middlesbrough, but actually he almost went for, rather than safety first and boring, nasty football, he went for somebody that's going to, perhaps be a little bit adventurous in Ranieri.
It might be a bit adventurous, Mike, but is Ranieri the right man, though, while he did what he did? Leicester. Nigel Pearson had them playing winning football, if you like, when he came in. And since he's left Leicester, he's not done great.
I think Ranieri's a very good manager. I think he's underrated still. I think he's one of those managers that no matter what he does, everyone seems to go, oh, but he's not really that good, is he? He was actually really good at Chelsea. If you think back, he was really good at Chelsea. And it was his team, Ranieri and Mourinho, first did well with at Chelsea. I think he did amazingly, obviously, at Leicester. He's a very, I think he is a good manager, and it's just because he has that funny accent and he's charming. Everyone takes him not serious, and that was sounded like Russian Ollie the guy.
No, it was like the Wicked Witch of the West, Mike, from
wasn't a very good Ranieri.
Ruby slippers, yeah.
I will have you all killed. No. But I think he's much better than people give him credit for, and I actually think it'll make a good fist of it there. Hopefully, not starting on Saturday.
Mike, who do you consider to be Fulham's key player on Saturday? Is there anyone you're fearing coming up against?
I think for me, I'm a big fan of Mitrovic. I didn't want him at West Ham, and I still wouldn't. He's the wrong player for us, but he is a very good number 9, and there are very few of them, and he will cause Diop and Balbuena issues. And there's Schürrle, if he plays, I think it's a very, very good player. I'm a big fan of Tom Kearney as well. I think he's actually a proper midfielder, do you know what I mean? Who does everything, but he's exceptionally good in transition, bringing the ball out from defence to attack.
And what about yourself, Gonzo? I know you're a fan of Sessegnon. Is it him you're fearing coming up against Zabaleta, or is there other people that's caught your eye?
Yeah, I mean, Sessegnon, yeah, I think he's a really good player. I think there's a possibility that actually he may be playing. If we do play Zabaleta, I won't be too concerned, because you're dealing with somebody that's not got a lot of experience. And although he played a lot of games in the Championship, of course, Sessegnon, and for somebody of that age, I think it probably highlights why maybe some of these very talented players are possibly better off at smaller clubs rather than the big clubs. But I do think Zabaleta's an experienced campaigner, and he may well find. Sessegnon may well find that he's shut down by Zabaleta, so I don't necessarily fear him, although I think he's a good player. Seri, I do think Seri is very, very mobile in central midfield, and that was a weird one, because we were I think we were looking to bid for him at 37 million, something like that, and it was constantly linked with him, and then Fulham buy him for 24 or something. So, but yeah, Mitrovic as well. I've got to say he's a big, strong bully. I guess you don't get little weak ones, do you? But he's a big, strong bully, and he may well cause the 2 centre-backs problems, as Mike suggested. So, yeah, I would fear him, certainly. Yeah,
Mitrovic as well for me. I'm still not convinced about us from set pieces and aerial battles, etc. And he's the one player that you can count on. Seri's interesting, because there's a lot of Fulham fans actually saying that he should be dropped. He's just not producing what they expected from him. He's not been looking that good. But they're in that predicament we used to be in, where you can't drop him because he is your best player. And who do you put in front of place of him? And the person that you will bring in, i.e. Kevin McDonald, while he might work hard, he's just not good enough. So you've got to put in this guy who's not performing very well, perhaps not putting in the same amount of effort, just because you've got no other option. And it's not a nice selection to have as a manager. It's not easy to witness as a football fan. We've all done it at West Ham, where we've seen players playing just because of who they are rather than because they should be. And you could probably say that about us last season when we had put up with underperformers, but we've now got the squad. The one player that's going to have a big game for Fulham, though, is Christie at right back. He's going to have to be, he's sort of their second choice right back last season under Fredericks. He's come up now. He probably started as their second choice right back when they tried the likes of Chambers there, etc. Now he's got his chance, and he's coming up against one of the most informed players in the Premier League. It's not going to be an easy afternoon for him. Just a very, very quick answer from you both. Gonzo, will Fulham get relegated?
Yes.
Mike?
No.
Oh, it's a yes from me as well. 2 of us think Fulham will go down. Mike Dean is in charge at Craven Cottage on Saturday evenings, 5:30 kickoff. He's 12 games this season he has refereed. He's handed out 5 red cards and given 5 penalties. In 8 of his 12 games, he's done one of the 2 anyway. So that could keep it entertaining. Jack Wilshere is out. Pellegrini is confirmed. Wilshere will not make the squad on Saturday. And Lucas Perez is in a fitness race after having the tiniest little bit of cut on his foot from producing an excessive amount of blood on his football boot. How that happened, I don't know, but it did because Lucas Perez put a picture of it, so it happened. Two positions to discuss, really. Gonzo, first one's left back. Despite winning our last 3 games, there's still a few people saying they still want to see that swap. I'm a Creswell fan. You prefer Creswell. Do you want to see the change, or is it? Do we go with the myth? Don't change a winning team.
No, I think it's an away game as well. So I think that's probably we had some nice games at home, haven't we? So we're playing away. I put Creswell back in.
What about yourself, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Cresswell, don't forget as well, before he went off injured, he was having an absolute flying game at left back for us. And who was he playing against? It was
Newcastle.
Yeah, what wasn't he just having a great game against Newcastle before he went off injured? So let's not forget that part as well. He really wants that spot back. He was playing like he really wanted it back as well. So I think we really need him back in that team.
I completely agree with Mike there. I think Creswell lost his place on injury rather than merit, for example. Masuaku, while he's done a bit better than recent times, he's still not done enough to clinch that. But the one we're going to have to talk about is Perez. Him and Hernandez did not set the pitch alight against Crystal Palace. He had his little injury, got taken off. Gonzo, is it just a case of Andy Carroll is the only one we can bring in, or is there something you would like to see done differently?
No, I wouldn't have Perez in there because I just don't. I don't rate him very highly. I think he's a poacher. I think if he gets a chance, he tends to finish. But I don't think we have two. The reason it doesn't work, you don't need 2 sniffers in the team, and I very much think we have that. I think what he offers outside the box and drifting wide is not great. If Hernandez was out, I'd play Perez up top, providing the boil on his foot has healed, as you alluded to earlier. But I wouldn't do Andy Carroll either, for the reason that you said. Again, if you said in the review, I think it was, he just doesn't suit our system. And, of course, you were right on that. So I'd actually look to play Antonio. I'd still play the same shape. I'd probably play Antonio up there.
You're the same as me here. We are a fan of Perez. So would you give him another chance to shine, or would you be making a change as well, Mike?
I would play Perez. If he's fit, I would play him because I quite like him when he pulls wide. I think he does well when he pulls wide. I think he's better than Gonzo's saying anyway. And he's got great movement and he's very quick. And I like that element about him. He scored 2 great goals in the for us. And I quite like the look of him. And I definitely would give him a chance. I think he's the sort of striker as well that would absolutely give that wobbly Fulham defence the heebie-jeebies. If he's not fit, Gonzo's stolen my fire. I was about to say that. I wouldn't let Andy Carroll anywhere near starting berth that team. I mean, he's all right for 10 minutes at the end, and that's it. I'll play Antonio if he's not fit. Purely to get him behind that slow Fulham defence.
Interesting. I'm going to disagree with you both here. I like Perez. I just think Perez is so unfortunate because at the start of the game against Crystal Palace, he played a lovely through ball and put Hernandez one-on-one with the keeper, and Hernandez didn't take advantage of it. So for that reason, he went off at halftime 0-0. If Hernandez had took that chance, Perez would have got the credit of the assist, etc. But it just doesn't happen because Hernandez never put it away. So I felt a bit sorry for him in that. But with that, I probably wouldn't start him either. But the problem is I don't know who I would start. The reason I wouldn't start Antonio up front is because, for me, for the month of December, he's a right back. Do not confuse him. Leave him as a right back. Leave him on the bench as this backup right back or something, because while I think he does well, and I understand why you should pick him and stuff because he has been playing well, but we're eventually going to have to play him right back again in a couple of weeks' time. And I just don't want to play him right back then up front and right back. Just keep him in training as a right back for the whole month of December. You're now a right back. Just get into his mind, because I still think that had a massive part to play. When we didn't include him in the squad at Newcastle, we kept him out, then put him right back against Cardiff and he did well. I actually think not having him in the squad against Newcastle to potentially come on as a winger or striker benefited Antonio, and I would just leave him as a right back for this month anyway. So that only leaves me with one option. That is Andy Carroll. That Mike says about putting the heebie-jeebies into Fulham defence, Carroll would. Just him starting would shake the life out of them. I don't even think we need to be crossing the ball endlessly. Their defence is like a sieve this season, and we need to take advantage of that. Mike, just very quickly, I'm going to get your thoughts on this. Me and Gonzo will do a cup of tea next week. Mark Noble's contract has been extended by a year. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's fantastic news. He's been absolutely brilliant this season, I think. Absolutely brilliant. And he wasn't like he's been rubbish at any point. He's always been good to excellent for us. And he's a proper... I mean, how many one-club players are there now? I mean, it's just almost an unknown at the moment. So to have him here for what is looks like going to be the rest of his career is brilliant. He's great in the change room and he's very useful on the pitch too. I think it's superb news.
Gonzo, is this a game we need to capitalise in? Is this where we need to start seeing a more ruthless and efficient West Ham than we have in previous years?
It would be nice, but we do have an awful lot of injuries, I've got to say. And as terrible as it sounds, we just need to not lose. I mean, a point away from home is not a bad result when you put a run of victories together. So that's what a lot of the top teams do. They might win 2 or 3 games in a row, they draw one, then they win another couple, and that's really the key here. So I don't think it's the most vital game to our season. Those games have been really, and yeah. So, but I'd like to think we'll go for it and we'll win it. And for team momentum, I think it's important to keep that winning streak going, because the longer we keep winning, the more confident these players are becoming.
Yeah, well, an interesting stat. The last 7 times West Ham have played away from home in the Premier League against a side that starts bottom, we have not won. It's a stat that won't surprise you. That Gonzo and Mike are both shaking their head, yes, and that's extra. But Mike, let's forget that stat a wee second. Are you confident for this one?
Well, funny enough, I was about to say this is exactly the sort of game we mess up, isn't it? Team bottom of the top, and then it's just us. That's a really interesting stat. Why I was nodding at it. This is exactly the sort of game we mess up before. This is really where the Pellegrini revolution comes into it, doesn't it? Because he will whack that team set up mentally and tactically to beat Fulham, because that's what he does well. I am confident. Weirdly, I am confident. I disagree, Gonzo. This is a game we need to win. We need to demonstrate that we aren't going to bottle it after 3 wins. It's almost like, oh, we're doing too well. We're West Ham. We should step up, put our foot off the gas and muck it up, because that's what West Ham do. No, I think this is real proof of us moving forward. If we go, I know they're bottom, but we need to go and beat them convincingly, I think.
While Felipe Anderson has scored 5 goals in his last 6 games, Fulham as a team have only scored 5 in their last 8 games. Felipe Anderson's actually scored just the amount in less games. And Gonzo, with that in mind, are you confident for this one?
Oh, I am quite confident, actually. I don't think it's a must-win pivotal game for our season, which is what I thought you were asking. So yeah, I am. I'm confident, and Anderson is a big part of that confidence, mate.
I think this is an important game to capitalise as well. If we want to finish, as we keep calling it, the best of the rest, if we want to keep climbing, narrowing the gap between us and even Man United, I'm not saying we're going to beat Man U for 6 and that, but the reality is there's not that much points between us, and they've got a hard game this weekend, away to Liverpool, I think it is. Right, so just the feel-good factor, we need to keep that continuing. We've all been enjoying this feel-good factor among the fan base, and only a win's going to do that. A draw, I get what Gonzo's saying here, 10 points out of those 4 games. Anyone would have taken that before we started the first one. Before we went to St. James's Park, anyone would have taken 10 points from this 4 games. So it is good on paper. But the reality is here, we're now away to play a team that's bottom of the league, that's the worst defence in the league. I've only scored 5 in their last 8. Now, I think we'll concede, but I'm also very confident we're going to score plenty. And not necessarily in this game, but this is the difference with Pellegrini in the last few seasons. We're going into every game now confident we're going to score 2 at least. So, Mike, may I have your prediction for this one, please?
I completely agree. I think we'll concede as well, but I think we'll score quite a few. I'm going to go for 3-1. 3 seems to be our magic number at the moment. 3-1, yeah.
Gonzo, are you sticking with 3 as a magic number as well?
Well, I was going to, but I don't want to be accused of copying Mike. So I think we win 2-0.
What were you going to say before Mike said 3-1?
Oh, 3-1, of course.
I'm going to say 3-1 as well. I think if you keep betting on 3-1 West Ham for the rest of the season, I think you'll make a profit on your money as well. Anyway, that's been Mike, that's been Gonzo, I've been Gio. Myself, Gonzo, and 8 other person will be back at 4:30 on Saturday. When the teams come out, we'll be on the other channel. The link's in the description below. So go and subscribe to it and put the little bell on. So when we go live on Saturday, it'll come through on your phones or your laptop saying, hey, lineups are out. They're a way to discuss the lineups. Come along and have a chat in the live chat with other West Ham fans, maybe some Fulham ones as well. And then we'll be back straight after the game doing the review on this channel. Myself, Gonzo, and a guest. But anyway, drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you're new around here, and we'll see you on Saturday afternoon.